you can do your own prenatal care. You can manage your pregnancy. You know what's best for your body, and you can give birth by yourself if you wish. So these were some of the main realizations I came to over the course of the past 5 years almost. Over the course of 3.5 years, I gave birth 3 times, including twins. So I have 4 children. And my first, so all were natural births, all were home births. My first was a home birth with a midwife. That was in 2020. A year and a half later, I had a free birth. And a year and a half later, a bit more, almost 2 years, I gave birth to twins at home without a midwife, although I was in touch with a midwife who came after the birth. So we can discuss whether that was officially a free birth or not. I do consider it a free birth. I've had one fully wild pregnancy. That was my second pregnancy with my daughter. And my third pregnancy, the twin pregnancy, I opted in for one ultrasound, which was very misleading and confusing because I was told I was carrying triplets. But that's a whole other story. Basically, every one of these events, from my first conception and pregnancy leading up to now, when my twins are over a year old, has opened my eyes and made me realize that we women have so much power, that connecting ourselves to our intuition and to our innate knowing is huge. And so once you take that full step and you start to question the narrative, you start to question the medicalization of birth, of pregnancy, the institutionalization of it. So the fact that most women go to hospitals to give birth, the fact that most women will have, 5 to 10 visits to a doctor, including ultrasounds and a million of analysis and blood work and so many other things during the course of a pregnancy, which is a normal physiological event, which is, a specific state, but definitely something that our bodies have been adapted to for millennia, as goes for birth. So this is all basically upside down. And before I got pregnant and before I gave birth, I was in the alternative world, though not as much as I am right now. So I was, for over 5 years at that point, I was very much into holistic health. I was doing holistic health counseling. I moved away from my pharmacy degree, so I have a degree in pharmacy, just to herbs and to supplements and to helping other people achieve their health that way and to writing about that. So I was very familiar with all this, but when I decided to get pregnant and when I did get pregnant, and I realized, so I took a pregnancy test because that's what you do, right? And then I realized that I am pregnant, and my first thought was, I have to go to the doctor to confirm this pregnancy. So this is culturally ingrained. This was ingrained into my consciousness by my parents, by my mother, by, what you hear. Even if you are somewhat in the alternative world. Now, I know some women will be questioning all this from the get-go, so from the beginning, and that's awesome. So I wasn't there yet. And then that started opening everything for me. And once I went to that, and I never went to the gynecologist before, just, FYI, I never did. It didn't feel right. It didn't feel like, so this was one of the things. I was just like, this is not what I do. I monitor my own reproductive health and fertility and stuff, and I just don't want to go, to a gyno to tell me what's going on with my body. So, but I went when I was pregnant. I went for an intravaginal ultrasound. I did not even think about the risks of this. It just didn't feel right. The attitude, luckily, that was like a very unfriendly doctor, because if it was a friendly one, maybe, I wouldn't have started questioning everything that early, because literally I went at 5 weeks pregnant. And so And he told me a bunch of nonsense. And he told me that, like I'm high risk and it looks like I have twins or triplets. And this is a story throughout my life. But this is what I was told. And I realized, wow, so this man has no idea what's going on in my body. He doesn't know anything about me, and he's giving me advice, and he's basically trying to force me to come back in a week. I feel fine. This is my first pregnancy, so this is not happening. And that's how it all started, basically. So my first pregnancy was realizing that, and gradually moving towards realizing that I can actually, if I want to, and if I don't feel the need for medical help, intervention, insight, whatever, it's fine if you do. But if you don't, that you don't need to go, you know? And then I realized, so what am I going to do for this birth? And I was hearing stories of hospital birth. I knew nothing about birth at that point. All I knew is that this didn't sound right. It didn't feel right. Like women were going to hospitals, having these traumatic births. It was only the cases of like some, marginalized cases or some accidental, like precipitous births or accidental home births or stuff like this. Like these were the good stories that I was hearing. I was hearing about a bunch of interventions, a bunch of C-sections. So I'm a C-section baby. My mom had me via a C-section when she was 39 because she was afraid of birth. So this is the story I carry with myself. And somewhere deep down, I knew that I wasn't going to repeat it. And she also had fertility struggles. So all of this I was carrying, and I was like, I just was questioning it all in a sense of what am I carrying within myself, and knowing that this wasn't going to be my story, that the narrative was going to be different for me. But this is what I was carrying. So I was seeing a bunch of C-sections also, and this is the reality. The C-section rate varies from 30 to 80% depending on the country, the hospital, and all of this, but it's crazy high. And I was seeing then mother-baby separation after birth. I was seeing babies not breastfeeding. This all sounded so horrible. This was not something I wanted to go through. I was listening about, the authoritative, misanthropic attitudes of these doctors and these prohibitions basically that were put in hospitals. And at this point I was in Serbia, so I would say it's even worse than some other countries. And I did not know what to do because I was happy to be pregnant, but I was not going to go through this. And at one point it just clicked, and I realized that first I started thinking maybe I can give birth in a pool in a hospital, but no. And then I realized, and it clicked, and I remember this friend of mine that I met when I was traveling to India years back. So before I got pregnant, that was maybe 4 more years back. I can't remember exactly. And I remember this story of when we returned from India and she got pregnant and she gave birth at home in a tub. And I'm like, yes. By the way, Yelena, if you're listening to this, thank you for enlightening me. And I realized, wow, I have to contact her. Like, this is it. Like, if this is a thing, this is possible. I can give birth at home. And so that was one of the realizations, the main ones of that pregnancy. And that's how it all unraveled. Basically, it went from there. So at the beginning, this is my first pregnancy. I sort of thought that a midwife was something that you have to do. Luckily, I met a midwife that became a friend. So she is a traditional midwife, and she's not regulated. She's not licensed. So she does have more freedom. And this all kept going and unraveling until my second pregnancy. I didn't do any medical exams. It was a completely wild pregnancy. I felt amazing. And I had a totally, just my husband there, a free birth with her. And I started realizing, so then my third pregnancy turned everything upside down. Because I did not plan it. I never thought I would be pregnant with twins. So that was that moment when you think you have it all figured out, but you don't, and life throws something at you that you did not think you would get, and you have no idea what to do with. So this third pregnancy was, something else. It was a lot of re-questioning everything that I think I knew everything about, and I'm very grateful for it, which led to this just extremely fast, raw birth of my twins at 37 weeks. And here I am now, integrating all this and integrating it, looking back at how, I managed myself and did my own prenatal care and, was researching diets and nutrition and herbal supplements and, just herbs in general, natural remedies. All of this leading to me founding Herbal Doula as my main website, as a place I want women to have to no, just have the traditional research, have the scientific research, know what's available about, using this herb in pregnancy and breastfeeding, so you can have this data, so you can decide for yourself, So if you want to use a certain herb to help yourself, to balance, to support in pregnancy, in breastfeeding, and if you're questioning already the medical narrative and the fact that you're told that, you have to be in a hospital, you have to be monitored, you can't use herbs or spices, you don't know anything yourself, only we know what's best for your body. So this is a part of it. Herbs are a part of questioning all that, and your general attitude and perspective on life is. So my bottom line is, once you start questioning things, once you start realizing that you have the power, that your intuition can guide you, and that we women have so much knowledge individually and collectively, your journey will start, and I'm sure it will lead you to some amazing places and transformations, as was the case with me.